This is the new Luxe Sil Rocket, a super little one-person tarp tent, a true tarp tent, because not only is it an enclosed tent, it will actually open out and become a big Gull Wing tarp as well. It weighs in at about 1.1 kilos, and that means that the fly is about 540 grams and the inner nest, should you use it, is 478 grams, leaving the pegs, the bags and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this now and show you what it looks like and put it up, of course. So inside the bag, naturally, this actually doesn't come with any poles, so you need to use walking poles or some other support as well, which most people will be familiar with if they're hiking. So, as I say, we have the inner nest, which is a lovely compact size, 540 grams. It all comes with the various guys and things you'll need with it as well, and that just packs down to that size. Sorry, that's the fly. The inner nest is obviously a full enclosed nest suitable for mozzie and midge conditions, and that packs down to that size. So as you can imagine, if you were cycle touring or you're backpacking on a minimal front, that is your entire packing for the actual shelter. Plus, of course, you've got the pegs. There are 10 pegs in this particular set, and they come with it, obviously, and that's about it. So what we're going to do now is going to put the tent up, and we'll show it you in its finery. What I'm going to do is just peg out the inner nest for a second, just to give you an indication of exactly how much room you've got here. As most people know, I'm a fairly tall person. I'm 6'2", 44-inch chest, size 11 shoes. And that gives you an indication of just how big the entrance is for this. So that would actually easily take a full-length sleeping mat, Neo Air, and you'd still have plenty of space on the side. At the tail end, obviously you'll have your feet above the sleeping mat when you're lying on the sleeping mat, and that will be coming down and giving you plenty of space above your feet, because you don't want your feet touching the outer skin. Lengthwise, I can lie in here quite happily, and it just gives you an indication of how big this is going to be once I put up the final shelter. So I'm going to take this away now, and we'll put the shelter up, and then we'll put the inner nest into it. So what I'm doing now is pegging out the 4 key corners, if you like, of the main fly. And the great thing about this, the shelter, it has 2 tension bands which are detachable to make sure that if you want to put it up straight away as an A-frame shelter, you can do it very easily. And let me just show you that now. The tension band at the front and the back of the shelter is here, which is simple. You can unclip it like that, and you'll also notice they've got some very nifty little adjusters here, and those of course are on all the key parts and the connections of the shelter, and if you ever were to break it, which would be unlikely, or lose that cord, you can just simply replace it with some Dyneema or some other 2mm, 3mm cord. Right, let's put the rest of it up. Now what I'm going to do is put in the lower support at the back, which is obviously 1 walking pole. Just roughly put the pegs in just to give it some layout, some space and some structure to it. And if I pop round here now and take a walking pole, this is approximately the walking pole height that works well, which is almost the full height of a walking pole, interestingly enough. And there's a suitable place for it to sit in there. And you just pop it in the ground roughly midway, pull this out and pop that. I haven't used the pegs that come with it just because I want to keep those in a good condition, because it will be an item that we sell, this tent, so I'm just using some old pegs of mine. And now what I'm going to do is just pop round it and just tighten up the tension, and we can have a look how big it is inside. But you can see it's quite a big shelter. And just adjust these down. So if you wanted just a tarp tent, that is a tent that will give you the shelter and plenty of ventilation, you're looking at it really. before you even put the inner nest inside. Now you have additional guys which are also included. You've got a long guy at the back and a long guy at the front, and the purpose of these is obviously to give you pitching options, possibly in weather when it's laid out like this in an A-frame, but once the tarp is opened and spread out, this will obviously perform a different function. Now let's have a look at how much space you've got inside. And you can see straight away there, this is quite a big shelter. How big? Well, I'll get inside and show you, shall I? And here I am, all 6'2" of me. As a taller person, I'm always very, very conscious of just how much space there are inside shelters, being a little bit taller than average. And so anything that's produced on the marketplace which does cater for people who are a little bit taller is always good by me. As you can see in here, there is plenty of space for just as a basic tarp tent. There's ventilation obviously straight through at the bottom there, so providing the weather's not coming in horizontally, you're fine. The door will zip down. There's space for another person here quite easily. I've got plenty of space behind me for a rucksack or whatever else. So as a basic shelter tarp tent without taking the inner nest, there's stacks of space in here. And as you can see with the headroom, I can quite happily sit here, enjoy the view, and do some cooking and so on. So what I'm going to do now is drop the inner nest in. There are little corner clipping points for the nest to go into. There's a hook here and a little eyelet up there for it to hook onto. And once that's inside, you can see I've got the bug protection, but also hopefully just how much room I've got to play with as well. And there you have the inner nest. Now hopefully you can see there the gap you've got between the nest and the actual shelter itself, the shelter skin. More than enough space for ventilation, more than enough space to allow for prevailing wind, shall we say. Now the shelter is, and the nest is obviously connected. They just clip a hook on the 4 key points at either end, and also one at the top here, just in there, and the same at the bottom end as well. So let's just unzip that and show you how much space I've got. And here we are inside the nest. I don't fill the length of it. As you can see with me in it, there is more than enough space in here for a full width mat, and then have all your belongings tucked down the side if you want to do that, or you can have it in the vestibule area there. Just simple, just really, really simple, and so good. Obviously the tent isn't as taut as I'd like it to be, but we're doing this in a bit of a rush to try and get the video done. And I really did want to show the benefits of this particular product because I think it's going to be extremely popular. So that was the basic stuff. Now let me show you the clever bit. Well, I said that there was going to be a good bit, and this is it. It's taken us probably about 5 to 10 minutes just to attach some longer guys to 6 of the tab points around the outside, missing out 2 of the other tabs halfway down, to just demonstrate using the same pole at the same height just how open you can actually get the shelter. Now, you know, I think it's super, I really do, because just by undoing the zip here and the 2 tension bands, front and back, it's allowed you to have so much more area, which could be very comfortable for one, perhaps with a dog or something, or even 2 people. It's a very, very flexible shelter. So let's just walk around and give you an idea of space and size. We have the 2 guys here. We just quickly tabbed onto the front of the door section there at the side. We've missed the middle ones out there halfway along. We have the 2 at the back here, and the rear pole is still exactly the same height as it was. And as I say, we just tensioned this one here, and finally the other side of the door. I suppose if you wanted to, if you wanted to shut it down a bit more, you could still keep it raised and actually zip the door down to prevent any of the weather coming in if it turned on you. But personally, probably if I was setting this up as a tarp like this, I would of course lift it a bit higher. Now, the inner nest of course is still usable. So even in a situation where you are using the shelter in its tarp configuration as a much higher, much wider shelter. You can still attach these little hooks, they're just on the elasticated shock cord, to the various points around the shelter, and if it's a bit too far then you just use an elastic band or a piece of cord or something, or peg the corners out with some spare pegs. But it will give you the bug protection that you'd need. Actually, on a night like this, there are a lot of little gnats and bugs floating around at the moment, so it would be the ideal thing to do to keep you away from those. So that is the Sil Rocket from Luxe in March 2013. I hope you've enjoyed this little featurette, and there'll be more coming soon. Thanks for watching.